Let me tell you something real, something life doesn't teach you in school. Trust is not a gift you give freely. It's a responsibility you give carefully, because the wrong hands can break what you spent years building. The truth is, some of the deepest scars don't come from enemies. They come from people you let close, the ones you laughed with, the ones you believed in. See, life has a way of revealing character over time, but by then the damage is often already done. That's why wisdom isn't about being cold. It's about being aware. It's about understanding that not everyone walking beside you is meant to walk with you. Some people are there to learn from you, some are there to use you, and some are there to test you. If you want to protect your peace, your future, and your purpose, you have to learn this early. Discernment is strength. It's not paranoia, it's preparation. Because once you recognize the patterns, once you see the signs, you stop bleeding from the same wound. Today isn't about fear, it's about clarity. And clarity might just save your life. Trust is powerful because it gives people access, not just to your time, but to your mind, your emotions, your plans, and your future. When you trust someone, you hand them influence. You allow their words to shape your decisions and their presence to affect your direction. That's why misplaced trust is so dangerous. It doesn't always explode loudly. Most of the time, it works quietly, slowly, like water leaking through a wall, weakening the foundation before you ever notice the crack. People often think betrayal comes with drama, but the truth is, it usually arrives disguised as comfort. When trust is given to the wrong person, it doesn't just hurt in the moment, it alters the path ahead. A single wrong recommendation, a careless secret shared, a false promise believed can set you back years. You may lose opportunities, confidence, or even belief in yourself. And the painful part is this: the damage often looks like your own decision. You chose to listen, you chose to follow, you chose to believe. That's why misplaced trust feels heavier than failure. Failure teaches you. Misplaced trust makes you question your judgment. The danger isn't that people are imperfect, we all are. The danger is assuming good intentions guarantee good outcomes. Someone can mean well and still ruin your momentum. Someone can love you and still mislead you. Trust does not equal wisdom. Wisdom requires observation, patience, and the courage to wait before you open doors that are hard to close once someone walks through them. Too many people confuse closeness with loyalty and familiarity with integrity. Misplaced trust can drain your energy without you realizing it. You start explaining yourself more. You start doubting instincts you once relied on. You silence your inner voice because someone you trust told you to. That's how futures get quietly stolen, not through force, but through influence. And influence is only possible when access is given. That's why trust must be earned in consistency, not in words, not in emotions, not in moments of charm. Protecting your trust doesn't make you cold or selfish. It makes you responsible for what you've been given. Your time, your talent, your vision. These are not unlimited resources. Every season you waste rebuilding what was broken by the wrong people is a season you don't get back. Trust is powerful because it multiplies whatever it touches. In the right hands, it builds legacy. In the wrong hands, it becomes a weapon turned against your own future. One of the hardest lessons in life is realizing that kindness can be performed, smiles can be rehearsed, and loyalty can be imitated. Not everyone who appears supportive truly wants to see you win. Some people applaud you in public, but quietly hope you never surpass them. Others stay close not because they believe in you, but because being near your light makes them feel important. The danger is not obvious hostility, it's hidden intention. When someone smiles at you, agrees with you, and walks beside you, your guard naturally lowers, and that is exactly when discernment matters most. People often assume that warmth equals trustworthiness, but charm has never been proof of character. A person can speak encouragement while secretly measuring how your success benefits them. They may celebrate your progress, but only up to the point where it doesn't threaten their position. The moment your growth challenges their comfort, the tone changes. Advice becomes subtle discouragement. Support turns into silence. What once felt like alignment starts to feel like resistance, and by then, emotional investment has already been made. The reason this is so dangerous is because false allies rarely attack directly. They influence slowly. They plant doubt in casual conversations. They question your decisions under the disguise of concern. They remind you of your limits while pretending to protect you from failure. Over time, you may begin to shrink without realizing it, adjusting your dreams to maintain approval. That is how potential gets negotiated away. One small compromise at a time. Not everyone who stays close deserves access to your plans, fears, and next moves. Some people collect information not to protect you, but to position themselves. They learn your weaknesses so they know where you bend. They learn your ambitions so they know how to insert themselves. And when the moment comes, they step forward while you hesitate, armed with knowledge you gave freely. This doesn't mean you should become suspicious of everyone. It means you should observe consistency. Watch how people behave when there is nothing to gain. Pay attention to how they react when you succeed without them. Notice whether they speak the same way about you when you're present and when you're not. True support does not compete, compare, or quietly resent. It doesn't disappear when things get uncomfortable. Wisdom teaches you that proximity does not equal alignment. Some people are near you for a season, some for a lesson, and some only to reveal who they truly are. Smiles can open doors, but character decides who stays inside. When you learn to see beyond appearances, you stop confusing friendliness with faithfulness, and you begin to protect your path from those who look supportive but are silently rooting against your rise. Wisdom is often misunderstood as intelligence or experience, but true wisdom shows itself in restraint. It's not just about knowing what to do, it's about knowing what not to do and who not to allow influence over your life. Anyone can learn how to trust, but it takes maturity to recognize when trust is dangerous. The ability to identify who should not be trusted is not rooted in negativity or bitterness, but in clarity developed through observation, reflection, and hard-earned lessons. Life introduces you to many people, but it doesn't explain their intentions. That responsibility falls on you. Wisdom teaches you to listen beyond words and watch patterns instead of promises. People reveal themselves over time through consistency or the lack of it. Someone who constantly shifts values, avoids accountability, or benefits from confusion is showing you something important. Ignoring those signals doesn't make you kind. It makes you vulnerable. Wisdom doesn't rush connection. It pauses, evaluates, and waits for proof before granting access. There is a difference between being open-hearted and being unguarded. Wisdom allows compassion while still setting boundaries. It understands that trust is not an emotion, it's a decision, and decisions should be informed, not impulsive. Many people learn this only after loss, after betrayal, after discovering that the person they trusted had no intention of protecting what was placed in their hands. Wisdom seeks to prevent repeated damage by learning from patterns rather than emotions. Knowing who not to trust also means understanding your own weaknesses. Everyone has blind spots. Some people crave approval, others fear conflict, and some are drawn to familiarity even when it's unhealthy. Wisdom shines light on these vulnerabilities so they are not exploited. When you know where you're weak, you stop giving power to those who benefit from that weakness. You become less reactive and more intentional in who you allow close. This kind of discernment doesn't make life smaller. It makes it more focused. You conserve energy by not investing it in people who drain, manipulate, or distract you. You move with clarity instead of constantly repairing damage. Wisdom recognizes that not everyone deserves a seat at your table, and that's not arrogance, it's responsibility. The more purpose you carry, the more selective you must become, because influence has weight. When you begin to value peace over popularity and alignment over approval, your circle naturally changes. Some people fall away not because you changed, but because you finally saw clearly. Wisdom gives you the courage to accept that clarity without guilt. It teaches you that protecting your future is more important than pleasing everyone in the present, and that the strongest form of intelligence is the ability to walk away from people who look right but feel wrong. Life is one of the greatest teachers, but its lessons are rarely gentle. It doesn't always warn you in advance or explain what's about to happen. Instead, it allows you to experience the consequences of ignoring signs you once noticed but chose to dismiss. Red flags are often small at first, easy to rationalize, easy to excuse. You tell yourself it was just a bad day, just a misunderstanding, just one mistake. But patterns don't begin loudly, they begin quietly, and when ignored, they grow stronger. Hard lessons usually arrive after patience has been misplaced. You gave someone the benefit of the doubt too many times. You overlooked inconsistency because you remembered potential. You stayed loyal to someone who showed you repeatedly that loyalty was not mutual. Life doesn't punish you for hope, it teaches you through outcomes. The pain that follows is not cruelty, it's correction. It forces awareness where denial once lived. What makes these lessons painful is that the warning signs were often there. A shift in tone, a broken promise, a subtle disrespect, a moment where your intuition whispered, but your emotions shouted louder. Ignoring red flags doesn't mean you didn't see them, it means you prioritize comfort over truth. And life has a way of removing comfort, so truth becomes unavoidable. The cost of ignoring red flags is rarely immediate, which is why it's so dangerous. Damage accumulates, trust erodes, confidence weakens. By the time the lesson becomes obvious, recovery requires more effort than prevention ever would have. Life teaches you that silence is also communication, that repeated behavior is a message, and that apologies without change are not remorse but strategy. These lessons shape discernment if you let them. They sharpen awareness and strengthen boundaries. They remind you that your intuition is not an enemy, it's a guide. Every hard experience carries information. The mistake is not in being wrong once, but in refusing to learn when life repeats the same lesson in a louder voice. Growth happens when you stop asking why something hurt and start asking what it revealed. Life is not asking you to become colder, only clearer. It wants you to recognize that not every situation deserves endless chances, and not every person deserves unlimited access. Red flags are not there to scare you, they are there to protect you. When you finally respect the lessons life teaches, you begin to respond earlier instead of recovering later. You stop needing dramatic endings because you learn to walk away at the first sign of misalignment. That awareness becomes wisdom, and wisdom saves you from reliving the same pain in different forms, because once you learn to listen the first time, life no longer needs to teach you the hard way. Purpose is fragile when it is unprotected. The moment you decide to live with intention, your life gains direction, and direction attracts attention. Not all of that attention is positive. Some people are uncomfortable with clarity because it exposes their confusion. Others feel threatened by discipline because it highlights their lack of commitment. Protecting your purpose does not mean living in fear of people. It means living with awareness of influence. Every voice you allow into your life has the power to either sharpen your focus or blur it. Fear makes you defensive, reactive, and closed. Discernment makes you calm, intentional, and selective. There is a difference. Fear builds walls out of trauma. Discernment builds boundaries out of wisdom. One isolates you, the other protects you while allowing healthy connection. When you move with discernment, you don't assume everyone is against you, but you also don't assume everyone is for you. You take time to observe how people align with your values, not just your emotions. Purpose requires energy, consistency, and belief. The wrong influence drains all three. Some people don't sabotage you directly, they distract you. They pull you into unnecessary drama, constant explanations, or emotional chaos. Slowly, your focus shifts from building your future to managing relationships that should have never had that much access. Discernment helps you recognize when a connection is costing you more than it's contributing. Living with purpose means making choices that won't always be understood. Not everyone will support your growth, especially when it requires them to confront their own stagnation. Discernment allows you to accept that without resentment. You stop trying to convince people of your vision and start investing in those who respect it. You learn that approval is optional, but alignment is essential. When you operate from discernment, you don't move based on impulse or pressure. You pause, you listen, you evaluate. You understand that just because someone wants access doesn't mean they deserve it. Purpose thrives in environments where honesty, accountability, and respect exist. Anything less becomes a threat, even if it feels familiar or comfortable. This mindset doesn't shrink your world, it strengthens it. Your circle may become smaller, but your direction becomes clearer. You stop confusing loneliness with loss and begin to recognize it as space for growth. Discernment gives you the courage to say no without guilt and to walk alone without fear, because you know where you're going. When purpose is protected, progress becomes inevitable. You move with confidence instead of anxiety, clarity instead of confusion. Discernment keeps you from wasting seasons on people and situations that pull you away from who you are meant to become, and that awareness is what allows your purpose to grow undisturbed and unstoppable.